On today's broadcast, ruling and opposition camps move on to a new round of feuding on the issue of missing 2007 Inter-Korean Summit transcript. Seoul and Washington agreed to consider delaying the U.S.'s transfer of wartime command of their allied forces to South Korea, and South Korea is working on sharing its government administrative know-how with Vietnam. This is KBS World Radio News. I'm Bruce Harrison. The prosecution has concluded the 2007 Inter-Korean Summit transcript does not exist at the National Archives of Korea. The Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office said Wednesday they found traces the transcript was deleted from the file management system of the presidential office during the previous Roh Moo-hyun administration before the presidential records were sent to the state archives. The prosecutors found a separate copy of the summit dialogue in the Roh administration's hard drive, which the late former president took to his retirement residence in Bongha Village, South Gyeongsang Province. The digital storage was later returned to the following Lee Myung-bak administration. Prosecutors said they examined all presidential records of the previous Roh administration that were transferred to the archives from June. Prosecutors explained they combed more than 7.5 million records in various storage channels of the archives, including the library, data saving systems, and external hard drives. They said there was no trace of the document having left the archives. Ruling and opposition parties had collided over former President Roh's exact words at the talks with late North Korean leader Kim Jong-il in Pyongyang 6 years ago. The feud came as the National Intelligence Service disclosed in June an abridged version of the summit minutes in which Roh is cited as declaring to give up South Korea's maritime border with North Korea, known as the Northern Limit Line. The latest findings contradict previous claims by the main opposition Democratic Party and former aides of Roh. They said the summit transcript must have been erased by the Lee Myung-bak administration from the National Archives. The ruling Saenuri Party is demanding an apology from the main opposition Democratic Party, claiming it distorted the truth about the missing 2007 Inter-Korean Summit transcript. Saenuri floor spokeswoman Kang Eun-hee called the alleged deletion of the summit records from the Roh Moo-hyun administration's file management system unprecedented. She called on Democratic Party Representative Moon Jae-in to explain the truth behind the missing transcript and take responsibility if needed. Moon served as former President Roh Moo-hyun's presidential chief of staff and led the administration's preparations for the 2007 summit between Roh and late North Korean leader Kim Jong-il. The presidential office called the absence of the summit transcript at the National Archives an unacceptable breach of national discipline. It stressed a similar situation should not happen again. The main opposition Democratic Party accused the prosecution of helping the government and the ruling party overcome their political crisis by suddenly announcing a midterm investigation report. Democratic Party spokesman Kim Kwan-young said the prosecution's investigation results only confirm the existence of the transcript at the National Archives of Korea, as investigators found a copy from the hard drive former President Roh eventually returned to the government. He refuted the ruling party's allegation the summit transcript was deleted from the file management system, calling it a politically motivated claim. The Roh Moo-hyun Foundation said in a statement it was natural to delete the first draft of the transcript after the final version was completed. It expressed regrets about the ruling party's response, which makes the transcript's absence look like the result of a political scheme. Seoul and Washington agree there is a need to discuss delaying the transition of wartime operational control from the U.S. to South Korea, but future talks will be necessary to finalize a timetable for the potential delay. The ultimate date of the transfer may depend on South Korea's ability to bolster its missile defenses. Our Kim So-yeon reports.
Seoul and Washington's defense chiefs have agreed to reconsider the timing of U.S. transfer of wartime command control to South Korea. The agreement is part of a joint statement Defense Minister Kim Kwon-jin and U.S. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel announced on Wednesday at the 45th Bilateral Security Consultative Meeting in Seoul. The two sides said they are keeping an eye on the fluid security situation on the Korean peninsula, including heightened nuclear and missile threats from North Korea. Seoul and Washington will assess security conditions on the peninsula regularly and continue talks on a delay of the transfer of wartime operational control based on the guarantee of an airtight joint defense posture. South Korea proposed the U.S. delay the OPCON transfer scheduled for December 2015. This came after the former Lee Myung-bak administration postponed a previous transition set for 2012. Some observers believe the transfer date will be adjusted based on when South Korea can establish the domestic Korea air and missile defense system and the kill chain, an integrated precision strike capability. Both are being developed to counter the North's nuclear and missile threats. In a news conference last weekend, Hagel said missile defense make up a large part of the capabilities Korean troops should secure before the OPCON transfer. Experts say his remark implies South Korea should be able to monitor movements in North Korea's nuclear facilities and missile bases in real time and strike down any missiles immediately before the command transition. The two sides will hold working-level talks throughout the first half of next year to finalize the transfer timetable. The defense chiefs also agreed at Wednesday's meeting to continue to complement a future post-transfer combined command structure. They are considering appointing Korean and U.S. generals to lead the allied forces as chief and deputy commanders, respectively. Kim So-yeon, KBS World Radio News.
The defense chiefs of South Korea and the U.S. have approved customized deterrence strategies to counter North Korea's nuclear threat and weapons of mass destruction. The two defense chiefs on Wednesday discussed classifying nuclear crisis situations into three categories: nuclear threat, imminent use of nuclear arms, and actual use. They are said to have agreed to respond preemptively in the imminent use stage. In a joint news conference following the meeting, U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel said South Korean and U.S. missile defense systems must be interoperable. The two nations are believed to be working on ways to share their intelligence on North Korean nuclear and missile threats to operate the Korean air and missile defense system and the U.S. missile defense system. North Korea's Vice Foreign Minister Park Gil-young says the United States continues to implement hostile policies that raise tensions on the Korean peninsula. In a keynote speech at the UN General Assembly on Tuesday, Park said the U.S. aims to secure supreme power in Northeast Asia through military power, and North Korea is its first target of attack. Park also said sanctions the U.S. has slapped on North Korea following Pyongyang's launch of a long-range missile are unfair, but he did not mention the North's nuclear tests in his speech. South Korea is holding a seminar in Vietnam to help the country enhance its institutional framework. The Korea Institute of Public Administration and the Korea International Cooperation Agency opened the seminar Wednesday to share the Seoul government's experience in administrative reform and electronic government services. Ranking Vietnamese officials will attend the two-day event from the Secretariats of Parliament and the Communist Party, as well as the Presidential and Prime Minister's office. South Korean Ambassador to Hanoi, Jun Dae-ju, will also be present. Debates will be held on how to apply the Korean example to Vietnam. Korea will also introduce its e-government program and discuss its early fiscal warning system and experience overcoming the economic crisis. In a speech, Ambassador Jun said the two nations' strategic partnership is growing stronger since President Park Geun-hye visited Hanoi last month. He pledged to strengthen cooperation for the Korean government to contribute to Vietnam's development. Under a Development Experience Exchange Partnership program, the South Korean Overseas Aid Manager will invite Vietnam's presidential and other key officials for training in Korea 4 times over the next 2 years. 2 workshops will also be held in Vietnam. The nation's Coast Guard has plans to crack down harder on illegal Chinese fishing boats in South Korean waters. The Korea Coast Guard said Wednesday it will detain and seek arrest warrants for Chinese fishermen who violently resist Coast Guards during busts of illegal fishing. In cooperation with the Navy and the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, Coast Guards will more sternly deal with the illegal fishing, which usually takes place in groups of Chinese boats. The Coast Guard will also carry out a massive special crackdown campaign against illegal fishing this month. A ruling party lawmaker says the top 10% of South Korea's income bracket earned around 10 times more a month than the bottom 10%. Quoting a Statistics Korea report, Saenuri Party Representative Lee Han-sung said the monthly income of the richest 10% was 9.2 million won on average last year. That's around 10.2 times greater than the 900,000 won in monthly income earned by the bottom 10%. The report found the average monthly income of the nation's richest 10% surged 15% from 2008, when it stood at around 8 million won. Universities in Seoul will hold Korean writing contests for foreigners next week as the Korean language grows in popularity around the world. Yonsei University's Korean Language Institute will hold its 22nd annual Korean language writing contest on Monday to mark Hangul Day that Wednesday. The national holiday celebrates the Korean language Hangul. The contest will begin at 10 a.m. in an open-air theater on the university's campus. Around 2,200 foreigners are expected to compete. Hanam University in Daejeon will also hold a similar event with foreigners.